Hey guys, tonight we slip into the humid, whispering jungles of the ancient Mayan world, where shadows of towering pyramids flicker under a star-drenched sky. You're standing on moss-slick stones, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming orchids. Cicadas hum a lullaby, but there's a pulse beneath it, a rhythm of a civilization that mapped the stars and whispered of endings. The Mayans, with their obsidian blades and cosmic obsession, believed time wasn't just a line but a wheel, spinning toward moments of creation and collapse. Spoiler: you probably won't survive their end-of-world predictions, but let's explore why they thought the sky might fall. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're deep in the Yucatan, around 600 CE, where the Mayan civilization is at its peak. Cities like Tikal and Chichen Itza rise from the jungle, their limestone pyramids catching moonlight like beacons. You're walking a Sakbi, one of those raised white roads, smooth under your feet, stretching between temples and plazas. The Mayans built these cities with no metal tools, just sweat, stone, and genius. Historians note their classic period, roughly 250 to 900 CE, saw over 40 major city-states, each a bustling hub of trade, art, and astronomy. But here's the quirky bit: they smeared their temples with red paint made from crushed insects, cochineal bugs to be exact, because apparently blood-red vibes screamed sacred to them. You can almost see the priests up there, chanting, their voices carrying over the canopy. Historians still argue whether these cities were peaceful trade networks or battlegrounds for rival kings, each vying for divine favor. You pause by a carved stela, its glyphs telling stories of rulers who claim to be half-gods. The air feels heavy, like it's holding secrets, maybe about why the Mayans thought the world could end. You keep moving, the jungle closing in. Fireflies wink like tiny stars, mimicking the ones the Mayans studied so fiercely. Their whole world revolved around cycles: birth, death, rebirth. Time wasn't just something you lived through, it was something you honored, feared even. You're passing a ball court now, where players slammed rubber balls through stone hoops, sometimes betting their lives. Yeah, losing wasn't just a bad day, it could mean a one-way ticket to the underworld. The Mayans saw everything, even games, as tied to the cosmos. That's the vibe you're sinking into. A world where every step, every star, every drop of blood had meaning. You're starting to feel the weight of their obsession with time, like a clock ticking louder than it should. It's not just about surviving the jungle, it's about surviving what they thought was coming. You glance up at the Milky Way, sprawling above like a celestial river. The Mayans called it the World Tree, a bridge between Earth and gods. You're wondering, what did they see up there that made them predict an end? The path narrows, vines brushing your arms. You're heading toward a cenote, one of those sacred sinkholes where the Mayans tossed offerings, jade, gold, sometimes people, into turquoise waters. It's eerie knowing those depths held both treasure and sacrifice. The Mayans believed these pools were portals to Xibalba, their underworld, a place of jaguar gods and skeletal lords. You're not here for a swim though, good luck getting out of that one. Instead, you're chasing the thread of their end times thinking. Why did a people so brilliant, who tracked Venus's orbit with scary precision, think the world had an expiration date? You're starting to sense it's not just about stars or math, it's about a worldview where everything, even time itself, could break. You take a deep breath, the jungle's damp heat wrapping around you like a blanket. Let's keep going, deeper into their story, where the end feels closer with every step. You're still wandering the Mayan jungle, the air thick with the scent of wet stone and blooming ceiba trees, their roots sprawling like the fingers of some ancient giant. The Sakbi you were strolling last time fades behind you, and now you're standing at the edge of a sprawling plaza in Tikal, where limestone temples pierce the canopy. The Mayans didn't just build cities, they crafted cosmic maps, aligning their pyramids with the stars. You're here to unravel their obsession with time, specifically that intricate calendar system that's got everyone spooked about world endings. The cicadas are still droning, a soft hum that pulls you deeper into this sleepy journey. The Mayans had a knack for timekeeping that'd make modern astronomers jealous. Their long count calendar, a mainstream historical gem, tracked time from a mythical start date, August 11, 3114 BCE, to be exact. It's a system of nested cycles, days, Kain, 20-day months, Winal, 360-day years ton, and bigger chunks like K8s and BK-tons. You're picturing a priest perched on a pyramid, scratching glyphs into stone to mark the passage of a K8n. 20 years, each cycle a beat in their cosmic rhythm. By 2012 CE, the calendar hit the end of its 13th BK-ton, roughly 5,126 years, sparking all that apocalypse hype. But here's the quirky bit. Some Mayan inscriptions mention cycles stretching way beyond 2012, like they were planning for a party in 4772 CE. So, were they doomsayers or just really good at long-term planning? Historians still argue whether the end of a BK-ton meant catastrophe or just a cosmic reset, like flipping a celestial odometer. You're circling a stela now, its weathered glyphs glinting under moonlight. Each symbol, serpents, jaguars, kings, tells a story of time as a living thing, not just a tally. The Mayans saw time as circular, not a straight line like you're used to. You're imagining their priests, draped in jaguar pelts, muttering prayers to keep the cycles spinning. One wrong move, one missed ritual, and the whole cosmos could wobble. It's like they were juggling the universe and you're wondering how they didn't drop the ball. The air's getting cooler, a breeze rustling palm fronds, and you notice the stars above, Orion's belt, bright as ever. The Mayans called it the cosmic hearth, a place of creation. You're starting to get why they were so obsessed with the sky. It wasn't just pretty, it was their clock, their gods, their everything. Now picture this. You're invited to a Mayan timekeeping ceremony, but the catch is, you've got to stay awake all night, tracking Venus's path with a stick and some obsidian. Sounds like a bad deal, right? Yet that's what their astronomers did, charting planets with no telescopes, just eyes and patience. Their Dresden Codex, a surviving bark paper book, lists planetary movements with eerie accuracy. You're chuckling at the thought of a Mayan priest double-checking his star charts like a barista sweating a coffee order. But it's serious business. Those cycles weren't just math, they were prophecies. If Venus wobbled or a solstice misaligned, it could mean the gods were cranky. You're feeling the weight of that now, standing in this plaza, the jungle whispering warnings. Did they really think the world would end, or were they just hedging their bets? You're moving again, the plaza giving way to a narrow path. The air smells of damp earth and you're dodging vines that seem to grab at your ankles. The calendar's ticking in your head, Cain, Winal, Tun, like a heartbeat you can't shake. The Mayans didn't just count days, they wove them into stories of gods and endings. You're starting to sense the 2012 thing wasn't a simple game over, but something deeper, tied to their view of time as a cycle that could restart or unravel. You glance at the sky again, the Milky Way stretching like a river. Remember that world tree from last time? It's looming larger now, connecting Earth to the heavens, and you're wondering what happens when that connection frays. The jungle's quiet, but it's not empty, it's waiting. You're slipping deeper into the Mayan world now, the jungle's humid breath wrapping around you like a warm blanket. The path you were on opens to a clearing, and there it is. A cenote, a gaping sinkhole filled with turquoise water that glimmers under the moonlight. You're standing at its edge, peering into depths that seem to swallow the stars above. The air's heavy with the scent of wet limestone and something sweeter, maybe wildflowers. This isn't just a pool, it's a sacred portal, a place where the Mayans reached for their gods. You can almost hear the echo of ancient chants, feel the weight of offerings tossed into the abyss. The cicadas keep their sleepy hum, pulling you into this moment. Cenotes were the Mayans' lifeline, both practical and divine. Mainstream history tells us these natural wells, formed by collapsed limestone, provided water in a region with no rivers. Chichen Itza's famous sacred cenote was a hub for rituals and survival. Archaeologists have dredged up jade, gold, and even human bones from its depths, proof of its role in ceremonies. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Mayans believed cenotes were guarded by Chak, the rain god, who'd occasionally demand a sacrifice to keep the rains coming. Imagine tossing your favorite jade necklace into that water, hoping it'd appease a grumpy deity. Historians still argue whether these offerings were purely symbolic or desperate bids to fix droughts that starved their cities. You're staring into the water now, its surface rippling like it's whispering back. You crouch closer, the cool stone rough under your palms. The Mayans saw cenotes as doorways to Xibalba, that underworld you glimpsed earlier, where skeletal gods and jaguar spirits ruled. You're picturing a priest, his face painted with ochre, tossing a turquoise bead into the depths, muttering prayers to keep the world spinning. It's eerie knowing some sacrifices weren't just objects. Sometimes it was people, often young, sent to plead with the gods. No gore, but you're feeling the chill of it, like a ghost story told too close to bedtime. You're wondering, did they dive in willingly, or was it less voluntary? Either way, the cenote's pulling you in, its water reflecting the Milky Way like a mirror to the cosmos. A frog croaks nearby, snapping you out of it. You're chuckling, thinking how you'd probably trip into the cenote if you tried that priest's job. Graceful isn't your vibe tonight. But the Mayans? They were all in, their whole world tied to these sacred pools. The cenote's edge feels alive, like it's watching you back. You're remembering that world tree from before, its roots stretching into places like this, linking earth, sky, and underworld. The Mayans believed everything was connected. Water, stars, time itself. That's why a dry cenote wasn't just bad news. It was a cosmic warning, a sign the cycle might break. You're starting to get why they'd stare into these waters, searching for answers about the end. You step back, the jungle's hum wrapping you up again. The path ahead is darker, leading toward temples where priests burned copal incense, its smoke curling like a prayer to the stars. You're carrying the cenote's weight with you now, its secrets sloshing in your mind. The Mayans didn't just survive here. They built a world where every drop of water, every carved glyph, pointed to something bigger, maybe even an ending. You glance back at the cenote, its water still rippling, like it's trying to tell you something. The stars above wink, and you're wondering what those priests saw in them, what made them think time could run out. The jungle's calling, pulling you deeper into their story. You're trudging deeper into the Mayan jungle now, the cenote's turquoise glow fading behind you as the path twists toward a looming pyramid. The air's thick with the scent of copal incense, its smoky tendrils curling through the trees like ghostly fingers. Moonlight filters through the canopy, casting shadows that dance across carved stone altars. You're standing in the heart of a ritual plaza, where the Mayans didn't just pray to their gods, they bargained with them. The cicada's hum is softer now, blending with the distant hoot of an owl, lulling you into this ancient moment. You can feel the weight of their devotion, the way every act tied them to a cosmos that demanded blood and awe. The Mayans' religion was no casual affair. Mainstream history shows they built their lives around gods like Kukulkan, the feathered serpent, and Itzamna, the creator deity. Rituals, often held atop pyramids, involved offerings to keep the universe's gears turning. Bloodletting was a big deal. Nobles pierced their tongues or ears with stingray spines to offer their essence. Quirky tidbit: some priests used crocodile dung in ceremonial pastes, believing it held mystical mojo. Guess even the gods didn't mind a little swamp funk. Historians still argue whether these sacrifices were about appeasing angry deities or ensuring cosmic cycles, like the calendar you glimpsed earlier, kept spinning smoothly. You're picturing a priest now, his face painted red with that bug juice paint from before, chanting under a starlit sky. You're standing by an altar, its stone worn smooth by centuries of offerings. The Mayans believed their gods needed sustenance, blood, maize, jade, to keep the sun rising and the rains falling. You're imagining the scene: drums thudding, torches flickering, a crowd holding its breath as a priest raises an obsidian blade. No gore, but the tension's thick enough to make your skin prickle. You're wondering how it felt to live in a world where skipping a ritual could mean the stars stop moving. It's like forgetting to charge your phone, except the blackout's cosmic. You chuckle, thinking you'd probably fumble the stingray spine and make a mess of the whole ceremony. The plaza feels alive, the air buzzing with the memory of those chants. You're remembering that cenote from last time, its water's a portal to the underworld. Here it's the sky that matters. Gods like Chak, the rainbringer you met earlier, lived up there watching. The Mayans saw their world as a three-layered cake. Underworld below, earth in the middle, heavens above, all linked by that world tree. Every sacrifice was a thread in that web holding it together. You're starting to get why they were so intense about it. Miss a step and the whole cake could collapse. The jungle's quiet now, but you're catching whispers of those rituals, the way they tied every drop of blood to the end times they feared. You move forward, stepping over a fallen ceiba branch. The pyramid looms closer, its steps steep and unforgiving. You're thinking about the priests climbing those heights, carrying offerings to gods who might not answer. The Mayans didn't just worship, they negotiated, balancing their world on a knife's edge. You glance up, the Milky Way sprawling like a celestial river. Remember that world tree? It's still there, tying this plaza to the stars. The air's cooling, the incense fading, but the weight of those rituals lingers. You're wondering what those priests saw coming, why they thought the gods might one day pull the plug. The jungle's pulling you deeper toward answers that feel just out of reach. You're weaving through the Mayan jungle now, the pyramid's shadow fading as you step into a clearing where the air hums with a strange electricity. The scent of burnt copal lingers, mixing with the earthy musk of damp leaves. Fireflies flicker like tiny beacons, and the stars above burn brighter, as if they're trying to tell you something. You're here to dig into the 2012 prophecy, that doomsday buzz that had everyone stocking canned beans and checking their calendars. The cicadas drone on, their sleepy rhythm pulling you deeper into this ancient puzzle, where time feels like it's holding its breath. The 2012 thing comes from the Mayan long count calendar, which you glimpsed earlier. Mainstream history pins it to December 21, 2012, when the 13th Bak a cycle of about 5,126 years, wrapped up. It wasn't just a random date. The Mayans tied it to cosmic alignments, like the sun crossing the Milky Way's galactic plane. But here's the quirky bit. Some New Age folks claim this was the end, full stop, while Mayan inscriptions like those at Palenque hint at dates thousands of years later, like they were chill about the future. Historians still argue whether the Mayans saw 2012 as a cataclysm or just a cosmic page-turner, a new cycle's dawn. You're standing on a stone platform now, glyphs under your feet spelling out dates that stretch beyond your lifetime. You're picturing the modern frenzy, books, movies, that one guy on X preaching about alien overlords landing in 2012. It's almost funny how a civilization's math got twisted into apocalypse porn. You're chuckling, thinking you'd have sold your couch for a bunker back then just in case. But the Mayans? They were more subtle. Their texts, like the Chilam Balam books, mix prophecy with poetry, hinting at endings but never spelling them out. You're feeling the weight of their ambiguity, like a riddle whispered in the dark. The jungle's quiet, but you're catching echoes of those prophecies, words about cycles closing and worlds shifting. It's not about fire and brimstone, it's about change, maybe rebirth. You step closer to a carved stela, its glyphs worn but sharp, depicting a king greeting the gods at a cycle's end. The Mayans didn't just count days, they saw time as a story with gods like Kukulkan, that feathered serpent from before, guiding its plot. The 2012 hype came from a single inscription at Tortuguero, mentioning a god's descent at the Bakatun's close. But was it doomsday or a divine cameo? You're wondering what those priests perched on pyramids really expected. The stars above twinkle, and you're remembering that world tree, its branches linking Earth to the cosmos. The prophecy feels less like a deadline and more like a cosmic checkpoint, a moment to pause and reset. The path ahead is darker, the jungle closing in. You're brushing past vines, the air cooling as the night deepens. The 2012 myth feels like a bridge between then and now, a mix of ancient math and modern panic. You're starting to see the Mayans weren't predicting your Wi-Fi crashing. They were tracking something bigger, a shift in the universe's rhythm. The cicadas hum, and you're wondering if they knew something we didn't or if we just misread their star charts. The clearing fades behind you, but the prophecy's weight sticks, like a dream you can't quite shake. You're trudging through the Mayan jungle now, the air heavy with the scent of damp moss and fading incense. The path is rougher, strewn with roots that twist like the glyphs you've been chasing. Ahead, the ruins of a city, maybe Calakmul or Copan, loom through the mist, their crumbled pyramids half swallowed by vines. You're diving into the collapse of these Mayan city-states, a slow-motion unraveling that feels like the prelude to their end-times obsession. The cicada's hum is a soft drone, lulling you deeper into this ancient world, where the stones themselves seem to whisper of endings. Mainstream history marks the Mayan classic period's decline around 800 to 900 CE, when major cities like Tikal and Palenque emptied out. Overpopulation, drought, and warfare likely gutted these hubs. Archaeologists have found abandoned palaces and unplanted fields as evidence. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Mayans used human ashes in their plaster to bless buildings, thinking it'd keep the gods happy. Spoiler, it didn't stop the collapse. Historians still argue whether environmental stress or internal power struggles tipped the scale. Did the Mayans starve or just fight themselves into oblivion? You're standing in a deserted plaza now, the silence louder than any crowd, imagining the last families packing up, leaving their temples to the jungle. You step over a cracked stela, its carvings of kings faded by rain. The Mayans built these cities to mirror the cosmos, but even stars fall. You're picturing markets once buzzing with traders bartering cacao and jade, now just echoes in the undergrowth. It's like walking through a ghost town, except the ghosts are gods watching from the shadows. You're chuckling, thinking how you'd probably trip over a vine and faceplant into history if you lived here. But the Mayans? They saw their world fraying, droughts drying cenotes, crops wilting, and maybe that's when the end times talk got louder. The air feels heavier, like it's carrying the weight of those lost cities. You're wandering past a ball court, its stone hoops silent. Remember those games where losers might have ended up as sacrifices? The stakes were high and so was the stress. The Mayans believed their gods needed constant appeasing, and a failing city was a sign the balance was off. You're starting to get why their prophecies, like that 2012 buzz from before, leaned on cosmic resets. A city crumbling wasn't just bad luck, it was a warning the cycle might break. You glance up, the Milky Way still sprawling like that world tree, its roots deep in this ruined plaza. The Mayans thought the gods could pull the plug, and these empty cities must have felt like proof. The jungle's closing in, vines brushing your arms as you move deeper. The scent of earth is stronger now, grounding you in this moment. You're wondering what it was like to watch your world, temples, markets, all of it, fade into green. Did the Mayans pack up hoping for a comeback, or did they sense something bigger, an end written in the stars? The path ahead is darker, leading toward temples where priests once watched the sky for answers. You're carrying the weight of those lost cities now, their silence a reminder that even the mightiest can fall. You're weaving through the Mayan jungle now, the crumbled city fading behind you as the path dips into a starlit clearing. The air's thick with the scent of damp earth and night-blooming flowers, their petals glowing faintly under the moon. You're standing before a stone observatory, its curved walls aligned with the heavens, where Mayan astronomers once tracked the stars with a precision that'd make your GPS blush. The cicada's soft drone wraps around you, pulling you deeper into this sleepy cosmic puzzle, where the sky wasn't just a view, it was a script for the future. Mainstream history credits the Mayans with jaw-dropping astronomical accuracy. Their Dresden Codex, a bark paper book you glimpsed earlier, maps Venus's 584-day cycle with an error of just hours over centuries. No telescopes, just sharp eyes and sharper math. They tracked solstices, equinoxes, even eclipses, aligning their cities like Chichen Itza to catch the sun's rays at precise moments. Quirky tidbit: some priests doubled as astronomers using sky sticks to measure star angles, probably squinting like you do at a bad text message. Historians still argue whether these observations were purely practical, say for planting crops, or if they were decoding divine messages about endings. You're picturing a priest now, perched here, charting Venus's path, his breath catching as a star shifts. You're circling the observatory, its stones cool under your fingers. The Mayans saw the sky as a living story, planets were gods, moving in patterns that whispered of creation and collapse. You're imagining the buzz when an eclipse hit, the crowd below holding its breath, wondering if the sun would return. It's like waiting for your Wi-Fi to reconnect, except the stakes are cosmic. You chuckled, thinking you'd probably drop the sky stick and ruin the whole vibe. But for the Mayans, every celestial tick was a clue. Their calendars, like that long count from before, tied earthly events to the stars, and a misstep in the sky could mean the world was wobbling toward an end. You glance up, the Milky Way sprawling like that world tree, its branches linking this observatory to the gods. Remember those cenote sacrifices? They were tied to this too, offerings to keep the cosmos spinning. The Mayans believed stars weren't just lights, they were players in a divine drama. Venus, the morning star, was Kukulkan, that feathered serpent, and its movements could signal war or rebirth. You're starting to feel why their end times prophecies, like that 2012 hype, leaned so hard on the sky. A planet out of place wasn't just bad astronomy, it was a warning the gods were restless. The jungle's quiet, but the stars feel loud, like they're shouting secrets you can't quite hear. You step away, the path pulling you deeper into the night. The observatory's shadow lingers, its stones holding centuries of starlit math. You're wondering what those astronomers saw that made them whisper of endings, maybe a comet, maybe a drought reflected in the heavens. The air's cooling, the scent of flowers fading, but the sky's weight sticks with you. You're carrying that cosmic clock now, its ticks echoing the Mayan fear that time could stop. The jungle hums and you're ready to chase the next piece of their story, where the stars and gods start to blur. You're slipping deeper into the Mayan jungle now, the observatory's stone curves fading behind you as the path winds toward a quiet grove. The air's thick with the scent of sap and night-damp leaves, and fireflies pulse like tiny stars fallen to earth. You're standing before a low stone platform, its surface etched with glyphs that seem to hum with ancient stories. This is where the Popol Vuh, the Mayan creation epic, feels alive, a tale of gods, heroes, and a world born from chaos. The cicada's soft drone weaves a sleepy spell, pulling you into this mythic moment, where the Mayans' origin story whispers of endings too. The Popol Vuh, a cornerstone of Mayan culture, was written down in the 16th century but carries tales from centuries earlier, passed orally by Kitch Maya. Mainstream history calls it a sacred text, detailing how the gods shaped humans from maize after failed tries with mud and wood. Yep, we're basically divine cornbread. It describes a cosmos born from a primordial sea, with gods like Hurakan and Gukyamat stirring life into being. Quirky tidbit: the hero twins, Hunahpu and Xbalanque, outsmart underworld lords in a cosmic ballgame, which sounds like the ultimate reality show stunt. Historians still argue whether the Popol Vuh's cycles of creation and destruction hint at literal apocalypses or just symbolic resets. You're picturing a storyteller now, voice low, weaving this tale under a flickering torch. You're sitting on the platform, the stone cool against your palms. The Popol Vuh isn't just a bedtime story, it's a map of Mayan belief, where worlds rise and fall like seasons. You're imagining the crowd, eyes wide, as the storyteller describes the gods wiping out early humans for being too dumb or too proud. It's like a cosmic "you're fired," and you're chuckling, thinking you'd probably flunk the gods' quality control too. But the Mayans took this seriously. Each cycle's end was a warning, a reminder that even their world could crumble. The jungle feels heavier now, its shadows pooling around you like that primordial sea. You're remembering that world tree from before, its roots tying the cenote, the observatory, and now this story together. The Popol Vuh paints the universe as fragile, held up by gods who aren't always patient. The hero twins' victory over Xibalba, that underworld you glimpsed, wasn't just a win, it was proof the cosmos could be gamed, but only if you played by its rules. You're starting to see why the Mayans tied their prophecies, like that 2012 buzz, to these myths. An ending wasn't just a date, it was a story written in maize and blood, where the gods might decide to start over. The stars above glitter, and you're wondering if they saw this tale in the sky. The grove's quiet, the air cooling as the night deepens. You're brushing your fingers over the glyphs, feeling the weight of a story that's outlived its tellers. The Popol Vuh's echoes linger, its cycles of birth and death circling in your mind like that long count calendar. You're wondering what it was like to live with a myth that said your world could be next on the chopping block. The path ahead calls, leading toward darker corners of the jungle, where prophecies grow sharper and the end feels closer. You're pushing deeper into the Mayan jungle now, the grove's mythic whispers fading as the path narrows, vines brushing your shoulders like curious spirits. The air's thick with the scent of wet earth and faint smoke, as if someone just snuffed out a ritual fire. You're standing before a weathered stela, its glyphs carving out tales of kings and gods. But tonight it's the prophecies of endings that draw you in. The cicada's hum is a soft lullaby, weaving you into this ancient moment, where the Mayans didn't just predict the future. They felt it in their bones, a cosmic clock ticking toward a close. Mainstream history points to inscriptions like those at Tortuguero, where a cryptic glyph ties the end of the 13th Biaketan, December 21, 2012, to a god's descent. It's not a neon sign screaming apocalypse, but a hint of something big, maybe a shift in the cosmic order. Quirky tidbit: some Mayan texts like the Chilam Balam mix prophecies with riddles, predicting fire from the sky, or roads in the heavens, which sounds like a sci-fi flick but probably meant comets or eclipses. Historians still argue whether these were literal doomsday warnings or poetic metaphors for renewal, like a cosmic spring cleaning. You're tracing the stela's glyphs now, their curves sharp under your fingers, feeling the weight of a people who saw time as a story with an end. You're picturing a priest, eyes on the stars, muttering about a cycle's close. The Mayans didn't just track days, they read them like tea leaves, searching for signs the gods were done with this world. You're chuckling, imagining yourself trying to decode those glyphs, probably mistaking a jaguar for a bad omen and panicking. But for the Mayans, prophecy was serious business. Their texts hint at past worlds destroyed by floods or darkness, like the Popol Vuh's failed humans from before. The 2012 date wasn't a one-off. It was part of a worldview where endings were as natural as sunsets, but scarier. You're feeling that now, the jungle's quiet pressing in, like it's waiting for the sky to speak. You glance up, the Milky Way sprawling like that world tree, its branches heavy with meaning. Remember those cenote offerings, the bloodlet rituals? They were all about keeping the cosmos happy, staving off the end. A prophecy like 2012's wasn't just a prediction, it was a call to action. More sacrifices, more prayers, more star watching. You're wondering what it was like to live with that pressure, knowing one missed ritual could tip the scales. The air's cooling, the scent of smoke fading, but the Stela's story lingers. It's like a letter from the past, warning that time's not infinite, even if the stars seem to be. You step away, the path pulling you deeper into the night. The jungle's alive with rustles. Maybe a monkey, maybe just the wind, but it feels like the prophecies are following you. You're carrying their weight now, those cryptic glyphs and starlit warnings, wondering if the Mayans saw something we missed. The cicadas hum, and the path ahead darkens, leading toward debates that try to unravel what those prophecies really meant. You're wandering deeper into the Mayan jungle now, the Stela's cryptic glyphs fading behind you as the path twists through tangled vines. The air's heavy with the scent of damp earth and faint jasmine, and the moonlight casts long shadows that flicker like debating scholars. You're stepping into a clearing where the ghosts of arguments linger, where modern minds wrestle with what the Mayans meant by that 2012 prophecy. The cicada's soft hum wraps you in a sleepy cocoon, pulling you into this clash of ideas, where the end of the world feels both ancient and oddly modern. Mainstream history leans on the long count calendar's end in 2012, December 21st to be precise, as a marker of a cycle's close, not a literal apocalypse. The Tortuguero inscription, mentioning a god's descent at the 13th Biketun's end, is the main clue, but it's vague like a cosmic post-it note. Quirky tidbit. Some fringe theorists claim 2012 would bring a galactic alignment with the Sun and Milky Way, sparking everything from alien invasions to spiritual awakenings, most of which sounded like they binge-watched too many sci-fi movies. Historians still argue whether the Mayans saw this as a doomsday or a symbolic reset, like rebooting the universe's Wi-Fi. You're picturing a scholar now, squinting at glyphs, trying to crack the code while sipping bad coffee. You're standing on a mossy stone, the jungle humming around you. The 2012 hype wasn't just academic. Pop culture ran wild, with movies like 2012 showing tsunamis swallowing cities. You're chuckling, thinking you'd have bought an extra flashlight during that craze, just in case. But the Mayans? Their texts, like the Chilam Balam, hint at renewal, not annihilation. The debate swirls. Were they warning of collapse like those ruined cities you walked through, or celebrating a new cycle? Some say the prophecy was overhyped by outsiders. Others think the Mayans saw something real in the stars. You're feeling the tension, like standing between two friends arguing over a cryptic text message. Remember that world tree, its roots tying cenotes, rituals, and star charts together? It's here too, looming in the debate's subtext. The Mayans saw time as cyclical, not a straight line, so an end might just mean a fresh start. But drought, war, and crumbling cities, those real-world woes you saw earlier, could have made any ending feel ominous. You're wondering what those priests perched on pyramids really thought. Did they fear the gods would hit reset, or were they just marking time's turning pages? The stars above glitter, their light steady but silent, offering no answers. The jungle's quiet, but the debate's noise echoes in your mind. You move forward, vines brushing your arms as the path darkens. The air's cooling, the scent of jasmine fading, but the weight of 2012 lingers, a mix of ancient math and modern misreads. You're carrying that question now. Was it a prophecy of doom or a misunderstood milestone? The cicadas drone on, and you're ready to chase the next thread, where the jungle itself might hold clues to why the Mayans feared the end. You're pressing deeper into the Mayan jungle now, the clearing's scholarly echoes fading as the path winds through towering ceiba trees, their roots sprawling like the veins of the earth. The air's thick with the scent of parched soil and wilted leaves, a faint dryness that hints at trouble. You're stepping into a world where nature's wrath, droughts, famines, dying cenotes, fueled the Mayans' fears of an end. The cicadas' hum is softer, almost hesitant, as if they sense the land's unease, pulling you into this restless moment where the jungle itself seems to whisper warnings. Mainstream history points to environmental stress as a key player in the Mayan collapse around 800 to 900 CE. Tree-ring data and lake sediment cores show prolonged droughts hit the Yucatan hard, drying up cenotes and shriveling maize crops. Imagine fields turning to dust under a merciless sun. Quirky tidbit. Some Mayans tried rain dances with jade beads and frog-shaped offerings, hoping to coax Chak, that rain god you met earlier, into saving their harvests. Historians still argue whether these droughts alone toppled cities like Tikal or if they just amplified wars and bad leadership. You're standing on cracked earth now, picturing farmers staring at a cloudless sky, their prayers unanswered. You're brushing past a withered vine, the ground crunching under your feet. The Mayans depended on cenotes and seasonal rains, but when both failed, panic must have crept in. You're imagining a family abandoning their home, their maize bins empty, the air heavy with defeat. It's like running out of groceries with no delivery in sight, except the stakes are survival. You're chuckling, thinking you'd probably try bribing Chak with your phone charger, but the Mayans turned to bloodier offerings, desperate to wet the earth. Those cenote sacrifices you saw? They spiked during droughts, as if tossing jade or lives could flip nature's switch. The jungle feels parched now, its usual dampness gone, mirroring that ancient fear. You glance up, the Milky Way still sprawling like that world tree, but it feels distant, uncaring. Remember the Popol Vuh's tales of worlds destroyed by floods or darkness? Droughts fit that script, a sign the gods were angry or worse done. The Mayans' prophecies, like that 2012 buzz, weren't just about stars. They were grounded in real crises, like rivers drying and cities emptying. You're starting to see why an end felt so close. When your crops die and your sacred waters vanish, the cosmos itself seems to wobble. The air's heavy, not with humidity but with the weight of a civilization watching its lifeline fade. You move forward, the path crunching underfoot, leading toward temples where priests once begged for rain. The scent of dry earth lingers, a reminder of nature's power to break even the mightiest. You're wondering how it felt to live in a world where every dry season could be the last. The cicadas hum faintly, and you're carrying that drought's shadow now, ready to chase the next piece of this story, where priests take center stage, guarding time's fragile end. You're weaving through the Mayan jungle now, the cracked earth giving way to a path that climbs toward a looming temple, its steps worn by centuries of desperate feet. The air's thick with the scent of old smoke and fading flowers, as if a ritual just ended. You're standing in the shadow of priests, those cosmic gatekeepers who read the stars and whispered warnings of time's end. The cicadas' hum is a soft pulse, lulling you into this ancient moment, where every glyph and offering carried the weight of a world on the brink. Mainstream history highlights the Mayan priests as elite astronomers and timekeepers, wielding the long count calendar like a sacred blueprint. They tracked cycles, kaitans, biketans, with obsessive precision, believing each turn could shift the cosmos. At Chichen Itza, priests aligned rituals with solstices, like the serpent shadow slithering down El Castillo steps during equinoxes. Quirky tidbit: some priests smoked tobacco mixed with hallucinogens to see the gods' will. Imagine them puffing away, hoping for a divine PowerPoint on the future. Historians still argue whether these priests foresaw literal apocalypses or just urged vigilance to keep the cycle spinning. You're picturing one now, perched atop the temple, eyes on the stars, muttering prayers to stave off the end. You're climbing the temple steps, each one a reminder of the priest's power. They weren't just stargazers. They were the glue holding society together, decoding Venus's wobble or a comet's streak as divine memos. You're chuckling, thinking you'd probably misread a constellation and spark a citywide panic. But for the Mayans, priests were cosmic referees, ensuring rituals, like those cenote offerings or bloodlettings you saw, kept the gods happy. The 2012 prophecy tied to that 13th Bieketan likely came from their pens, a warning or maybe just a milestone. You're feeling the pressure they carried, knowing one wrong glyph could mean chaos. The Milky Way glows above, that world tree stretching across the sky. Remember the Popol Vuh's cycles of creation and ruin? Priests wove those stories into their star charts, seeing every drought, like those you walked through last time, as a sign the gods might hit reset. You're standing at the temple's summit now, the jungle sprawling below, its silence heavy with expectation. The priest's job was to guard time, to keep the universe's heartbeat steady. A missed eclipse or a dry cenote wasn't just bad luck, it was a crack in the cosmic order. You're wondering what they saw in those stars that made them whisper of endings, maybe a warning we misread centuries later. You descend, the path pulling you deeper into the night. The temple's shadow lingers, its stones holding the priest's secrets. The air's cooling, the scent of smoke fading, but their warnings echo, tying the stars to the earth's fragile pulse. You're carrying that cosmic weight now, wondering how it felt to hold time's reins, knowing the gods might let go. The cicadas hum, and the jungle calls you toward the next chapter, where the Mayans' legacy shapes our own fleeting dreams. You're slipping deeper into the Mayan jungle now, the temple's looming shadow fading as the path weaves through a tangle of vines and moonlit ferns. The air's heavy with the scent of damp moss and distant rain, a faint promise of relief after the droughts you felt last time. You're standing in a quiet clearing, where the Mayans' legacy hums softly, their cosmic wisdom echoing in the modern world. The cicada's drone is a gentle lullaby, pulling you into this moment, where ancient prophecies meet today's questions about time and endings. Mainstream history credits the Mayans with a worldview that shaped how we think about cycles. Think calendars, astronomy, even sustainability. Their long count, which you've been chasing, didn't just track time. It framed existence as a series of renewals, influencing modern ideas about ecological balance. Quirky tidbit: some eco-activists today draw on Mayan reverence for nature, using their cenote rituals as metaphors for protecting water sources, though thankfully without the human sacrifices. Historians still argue whether the Mayans' end times talk was a warning about environmental collapse or a spiritual metaphor for rebirth. You're picturing a modern scholar now, scribbling notes under LED lights, connecting Mayan droughts to climate change fears. You're brushing your fingers over a fallen stone, its glyphs worn but whispering of cycles that outlasted empires. The Mayans saw time as a wheel, not a road, and that idea sticks with you. You're chuckling, thinking how you'd probably oversleep and miss the next cosmic reset. But the Mayans' legacy isn't just in ruins, it's in how we wrestle with their prophecies, like that 2012 hype you unraveled. It wasn't about aliens or tsunamis, it was about a mindset that saw endings as beginnings, a lesson we're still learning when we talk about saving the planet. The jungle feels alive, its pulse syncing with those ancient ideas. Remember that world tree tying cenotes, stars, and priests together? It's still here, its roots in the Mayans' belief that everything, earth, sky, time, is connected. Their collapse, those dried-up cenotes and crumbling cities, wasn't just a tragedy, it was a warning we're still decoding. You're starting to see why their prophecies linger, why we keep circling back to their math and myths. The stars above glitter, and you're wondering if we're any better at reading them than those priests were. The air's cooling, the scent of rain stronger now, like a nod to Chak, that rain god, still watching. You step forward, the path softening underfoot as the jungle hums. The Mayans' insight feels closer now, not just a relic but a mirror, reflecting our own fears of running out of time. You're carrying their legacy, a mix of star charts and cautionary tales, wondering how it shapes the world you'll wake up to. The cicada's hum fades, and the path pulls you toward the final piece, where the jungle itself might lull you into dreams of what's next. You're drifting deeper into the Mayan jungle now, the clearing's echoes of legacy fading as the path softens beneath your feet, cushioned by fallen leaves and whispers of moss. The air's thick with the scent of impending rain, a cool dampness that soothes the dryness you felt before. The stars above peek through the canopy, their light dimming as clouds gather, and the cicada's hum slows, weaving a sleepy spell. You're standing at the edge of a quiet grove, where the Mayans' cosmic warnings blend into the jungle's lullaby, pulling you toward thoughts of time's gentle end. Mainstream history notes the Mayans' cyclical view of time influenced their rituals, like those cenote offerings and starlit prayers you've seen, tying every act to the cosmos's rhythm. Their priests, those cosmic referees from before, didn't just predict endings. They prepared for them, believing renewal followed collapse. Quirky tidbit: some Mayan communities today still honor these cycles, burning copal during solstices as if the old gods never left, modern incense for ancient vibes. Historians still argue whether these rituals were about staving off doom or embracing change, like a cosmic spring after a long winter. You're picturing a modern Mayan elder now, chanting softly, their voice blending with the jungle's hum. You're sitting on a mossy stone, the air cooling as raindrops patter nearby. The Mayans' prophecies, like that 2012 milestone, weren't just about fear, they were about balance, a reminder that time turns like a wheel. You're chuckling, thinking you'd probably forget the date of the next Biaketun and miss the cosmic party. But the Mayans lived with purpose, their every glyph and sacrifice a nod to the gods' watchful eyes. You're feeling that now, the jungle's quiet wrapping you like a blanket, its shadows softening the weight of those ancient warnings. The world tree looms in your mind, its roots still tying this grove to the stars and cenotes. The rain's picking up, a gentle drizzle kissing the leaves. You're remembering the populvuous cycles of creation, the droughts that cracked the earth, the priest who read the sky. It all weaves together, a story of a people who saw endings not as final but as doorways. You're wondering what it was like to live with that faith, to trust the next cycle would come, even as cities fell. The stars are hidden now, but their presence lingers, like the Mayans' belief that time keeps spinning, no matter how dark the night. The jungle's hum feels softer, almost a whisper, inviting you to let go. You rise, the path ahead fading into mist. The rain's cool touch and the cicadas' fading song pull you toward rest, the Mayan world blurring at the edges. You're carrying their story now, a tapestry of stars, sacrifices, and cycles, wondering if their warnings were for them or for you. The jungle's lullaby grows quieter, ready to guide you into dreams where time feels endless. You're sinking deeper into the Mayan jungle now, the mist from the drizzle wrapping you like a soft veil. The path has all but vanished, blending into a sea of ferns and moss, their damp scent mingling with the faint sweetness of night-blooming flowers. The cicada's hum is barely a whisper, a delicate thread pulling you into a dreamlike haze. You're standing in a grove where the Mayan world feels like it's dissolving, its prophecies and star charts fading into a gentle lullaby. The air's cool, the rain a soft patter, and you're ready to let the jungle carry you towards sleep, where the end times slip away like shadows. Mainstream history tells us the Mayans' view of time, woven through their long count and rituals, wasn't about doom but about cycles, endings that birthed beginnings. Their collapse, those crumbling cities you wandered through, wasn't the end. Their descendants still thrive, keeping old stories alive. Quirky tidbit: some modern Maya mix Catholic prayers with ancient chants, lighting candles where copal once burned, like a cosmic remix of faith. Historians still argue whether the 2012 prophecy was a warning or a celebration, a reset rather than a rupture. You're picturing a quiet village now, an elder murmuring tales of the world tree under a starry sky, their words soft as the rain. You settle against a ceiba tree, its roots curling around you like an embrace. The jungle's alive but gentle, its rustles and drips a soothing hum. You're chuckling, thinking how you'd probably oversleep through a cosmic reset, dreaming of tacos instead. But the Mayans' wisdom lingers, their stars, cenotes, and glyphs all whispering that time turns, not stops. You're remembering the priest's vigilance, the populvuous cycles, the droughts that tested their faith. It's all a tapestry now, fading into the night, its threads tying you to a world that saw endings as part of the dance. The rain slows, the air soft and heavy, like a blanket you can't resist. The Milky Way, that world tree, is hidden by clouds, but you feel its presence, stretching from Earth to eternity. You're wondering what those ancient stargazers would say now, if they'd smile at our 2012 panic or nod at our own fears of time running out. The jungle's lullaby is all that's left, its whispers blending with your slowing breath, inviting you to let go. You're sinking now, the jungle's arms cradling you as the rain fades to a distant drip. The cicadas are silent, their hum replaced by the soft rustle of leaves, each one a sigh from the Mayan world. You're no longer chasing prophecies or glyphs. You're floating, the stars above hidden but warm in your mind. The world tree stretches over you, its branches a canopy of dreams, its roots deep in the earth where cenotes sleep. You're safe here, wrapped in the jungle's embrace, its scent of moss and rain a gentle promise that time keeps turning. The Mayans' warnings, their cycles, their gods, they're just echoes now, soft as your breath, guiding you toward rest. Let the grove hold you, let the night dissolve, and drift into a sleep as deep as the cenotes, as endless as the stars.